Hello everyone, and thanks for watching my blog. Thanks for watching my videos on YouTube, and thanks to those of you who are subscribed to my website. Now, my last post was about creativity and my suggestion that perhaps this was the one thing that gave mankind hope, because with it, great things can happen and great thoughts can arise. And I also casually linked it to the subject of flow, and I had a lot of comments and questions about flow, so I decided to do a post about it in this current series, and I think this would be the last one on this current series. So anyway, what is flow? Well, flow was first described by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and apparently he called it flow because when he interviewed people who were really being very creative and really being in the mindset where great things happen and where they give their peak performance, many of them said it was like being carried down a river, like being a floating leaf being carried down a river. So that's where the word flow comes from. And he wrote a book about this, Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Performance, I think is the title, something like that. And I read it several years ago, and it's a great book, and I recommend it to everybody. It's quite a long book, but it's an interesting read for sure. And coincidentally or not, many of the ideas of flow are in my book called Push at Open Doors, which was on Amazon, had 5-star ratings from readers, I'm glad to say, but I've since taken that book off Amazon, and it's now only available as an ebook, a PDF ebook from my website, for those of you who are still interested in reading it. The reason I took it off was because I wanted to take my ideas several stages further in my next book, which is Get Lucky Now and Poker Genius, 2 different titles. They're both with publishers at the moment, waiting for decisions on whether they're going to offer me a deal or not. But one way or the other, they will be published, but I don't quite know when. But anyway, back to the subject of flow. Pushing at open doors, it means what it says, that people accomplish things when things appear to be easy. And intuition is in here as well, helping us to recognize these metaphorically open doors, and also warning us about the doors that are closed to us. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we can't get through. We can hammer them down, and if we've got enough willpower and determination, we will get through to the other side of the door. But when we get there, we'll probably, or may, wish that we hadn't done. So how does this link in with flow? Well, flow is everything I do, really, with my clients. It's all about being the best person you can be, optimal performance. And there are different people use different words for it. A word that's commonly used by sports people is being in the zone. Musicians talk about being in the groove. Poker players, who of course I know a lot of them now, they talk about playing their A game. So all of us, I would imagine, at one time or other in our lives have been in a flow state. It's when time stands still, or it can be when time moves incredibly fast. Driving down a motorway can be a flow state. You look at your watch and you realize you've been driving for 3 hours. Fortunately, you haven't fallen asleep. It's when things are easy. It's often when clients tell me, well, I just got out of my own way, or today I just let things happen. And it's deeply satisfying. And I really hope that you have had a flow experience in your life, because that means that you can have more. You can have many more. Because once you've had this, it's like a drug, but it's a good drug. You want to get into flow faster, and you want to stay there longer. And why it's possibly related to my last blog about creativity, and why there may be a reason why our species, Homo sapiens, is the most intelligent species. What we should be using our brains for, I postulate, is that if we have flow experiences, then we know that this produces an overall satisfaction with life. It produces happiness. And then it means that the kind of thoughts that we have are likely to be very positive ones rather than the destructive ones that happen when people are not in flow very often. The other interesting thing about the work of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is that he defined the people who are more likely to find flow, and he called these the autotelic personalities. And examples of this are people that have a natural curiosity. There are people who have no ego or little ego most of the time. And they are people who enjoy activities, whatever they might be, for their own intrinsic worth. As I mentioned in my last blog, people often do things for material rewards, but it's far better and far more likely to be successful if you do things that you just like doing. And the curious thing is, my book, Get Lucky Now, yet to be published, but it will be, is that in my book about luck, I say that I do not believe that luck is random. I believe that everybody can attract more luck into their life one way or the other. Some of the reasons are very logical. And I too tried to define through my research the characteristics of lucky people. And they are very similar to the ones that Mihaly came up with. So, how can we use flow in a wider context? Well, these are just my wild thoughts. But again, as I mentioned in my blog about creativity, what about if the people who are in charge of people in institutions, and by institutions, I mean schools, universities, the workplace, I mean places like hospitals, prisons even, and obviously in sports and music. How about if all the people in charge of others in these places had specific training in creating flow states in themselves and in other people? What difference would that make to the mindset of the people in those institutions? Well, if there are any business people watching this, and I'm sure there are, just think about how the bottom line of your business could improve if more of your employees were more in flow when at work, of course, managed in the right possible way. Because there is a danger that flow can lead you into directions that people shouldn't go, but most of the time it's quite the opposite. It leads to directions that people definitely should spend more time in. So that's probably enough for today. Flow equals greater creativity, equals greater happiness, equals greater performance, whether in business, sport, music, or whatever. It's a very, very important subject. There's some great stuff on Wikipedia, for example, about the subject, and many other sources. And those of you who want to know more about flow, look at these places, write to me or whatever, and experiment. So, enough for this week. Thanks again for watching. My whole article's on my blog site. I'll put a link to it on my YouTube. So I do encourage you to read it as well as just to watch this video. So more next week. Don't know what the subject's going to be just yet. I have a few ideas. In the meantime, have a lot of flow this week, have a lot of happiness, and produce some really good results for you and everybody close to you. Until then, goodbye.